Hey guys, Kyle Bradshaw here. I'm about ready to do another tire test. We're taking these two Africa Twin motorcycles out and testing what's called the Karoo 3 and the Karoo Street tires side by side. One's a 50-50 tire and one is a mostly street tire that can do some off-road. This is the street-oriented tire called the Karoo Street. This here is the Karoo 3. So as you can see, the actual tread pattern of the tires are nearly identical. The big difference is going to be the tread depth of this one is deeper than the street tire. The other thing you're going to notice is the amount of space in between each of these tread blocks is significantly bigger. Now this tire has several different characteristics that Metzeler says makes it perform better than any other enduro tire out there, and we're going to see just exactly what that looks like today. Now I've actually run these tires before. I've had the Karoo 3 on both my R1200 GS Adventure as well as my KTM 950 Super Enduro. It's a really neat tire. These tires are super slippery, so it's imperative that we get these things down to the sand wash and get them properly scrubbed in before we hit any of the high-speed twisties or backcountry roads that we're going to be taking. Now as far as the front tire goes, you can see the amount of street ability that this tire is going to have versus this one. This one's going to wiggle a little bit, it's going to squirm, it's definitely going to be bumpy as you come up to a stoplight or a stop sign. This may not do that. I haven't yet run the street tire. I'm really excited to get that tire out to see what it's going to do, but today we're going to do it. The battle between the Karoo Street and the Karoo 3. Here we go.
Look forward how you normally look. Well, usually I'm standing on the bike like this.
We're going to put it to its test on 5-lane freeway. We're going to put it in the sand wash and punish it in the sand. We're going to take it to dirt roads, backcountry roads, and even some really high-speed twisties up there on the mountains. Without further ado, let's get to it.
So right now we're just going through some rough terrain to try to scrub in these tires so that when we do go hit the fast twisties, they're not slippery anymore. They're all dialed in and ready to get traction. This is just obviously the first break-in because we're headed to the sand wash. All right, so what am I feeling? My first feeling of these tires is the fact that they're really round and a little bit slippery. So we just got to make sure that we get them scrubbed in appropriately so we don't have any mishaps when we start leaning really far into the corners. Now on the last set of Karoo 3s that I ran, when I took my hands off the bars at low speeds, I mean this is 50 miles an hour, it's relatively low, I got a vibration in the bar. So Travis is able to feel that bounce that I just described. Now, that's just because the blocks on that tire are so far apart, versus the blocks on this tire here are really close together. It's the same type of tread pattern, there's just less space between those blocks. And that's allowing this to be a better street tire than that Karoo 3. Alright, now we're running 30 PSI in both these tires, the same PSI that we've been running in all the other tires we've tested thus far. It's a good compromise for street and for dirt. Oh, I definitely feel the front tire not as grippy. Whoa! Alright, definitely, whoa! Definitely no less, oh my gosh, definitely less front end traction for sure. I feel the front end, my front end is definitely pushing sand and causing the wiggle effect. Did you see mine sliding sideways both tires? This is crazy. Dude, that front end totally just plowed. Let me take a look. I gotta get off and show this. So I went to turn, and instead of actually biting and going, it just literally plowed into the ground and pushed like a bulldozer. There's just not enough side bite here in order to give it traction and make it turn. Difference being this huge amount of gap between those two blocks versus not much gap between those blocks. That's really the difference in the propulsion. Then on the sides, these little teeny tiny grooves versus the larger grooves are definitely becoming a hindrance. All right, now Travis is rolling the Karoo Street. He just pulled away and came back. What's your initial impression, Travis?
They're all over the place.
All right, now I've got the Karoo 3. Time to go do some testing. So that front tire's doing a good job at biting. Great job. Yeah, dude, the rear end might not be pushing as much as I would want it to, but that front tire is biting and not making the rear tire have to work as much. Let's do this little hill climb over here. All right, here we go. Karoo Street. Good run, good run. Yeah, momentum's your friend, dude. Oh yeah, that felt good. Yeah, you got to be up a gear for sure. Okay, let's go with that same rocky section that we've been going through lately. It's right over here. All right, here's the rocky section. Oh, almost lost it. So we just finished up here at the sand wash. As you can see, we've done a pretty good job at scrubbing these tires in. They're not so slippery anymore, which is nice. Now we're gonna go up and hit some 5-lane highway over to Waterman Canyon. So I can absolutely feel the actual knobs of these tires touching down on the pavement every single time that knob comes around. Definitely a more knobby feel. Definitely feels like an off-road truck tire. Again, a little bit stiffer of a sidewall, stiffer of a carcass. It doesn't have that plush ride that I've just experienced on the Karoo Street tire. Now we're off on the Highway 18, jumped over onto Old Waterman Canyon Road. Now this is one of those old backcountry highway byway roads with lots of tar snakes in it, as you can see. Potholes that either have been filled or have not yet been filled. So this gives a good indication, or a good feeling, if you will, of some of those less maintained back roads that we like to ride our motorcycles down. So this road oftentimes has rocks in it, sand in it, some water crossings. It's got a mixed bag of different types of elements that could potentially be hazardous when you're riding a motorcycle. On the short little highway section we just did, I was explaining how these tires are significantly knobbier than those Karoo Street tires, and I can actually feel every single lug as they come around. It provides a rougher ride on the highway, but the superiority of this tire off-road as compared to that street tire ahead of me is markedly different. That rigidity of this carcass is a little bit unnerving. I'm really not getting feedback from these tires as I would want. You hear that? That's traction control. That's the motor not allowing my wheel to kick loose and break free. These tires are sketch. These tires take a long time to get broken in. You can totally see where these tires are just slipping out on the road. We're not even getting all the way over to the edge, but it's just the amount of rubber that's on the ground is pretty light and it just slides back here. Definitely a better dirt tire than a street tire, that's for sure. Do they feel so different? It's so crazy how different these tires feel. These tires feel much more like a street tire than that tire there. I can feel the sidewalls flexing. The rubber compound is way softer, and I feel that each of those lugs is biting in and digging into the ground, versus the other one, it felt like the knob was sitting on top of the concrete and really just not biting as much as this tire is. The confidence that these Karoo Street tires provide as compared to those Karoo 3s on the pavement is night and day. It's crazy different. If I'm going to talk about these tires and which tire I would put on to do what, I think I would run the Karoo Street and deal with the lack of dirt worthiness rather than have the off-road capability of that tire and then the sketchiness of that tire on the street. God, I can't tell you how good these Karoo Street tires feel as compared to the Karoo 3. I know that one's a dirt tire and I know that one is a street tire, but on the street, man, these Karoo Streets, I would put them up against a sport bike tire. I really would. They're super sticky compound. The sidewall gives you great feedback. I mean, you just know what the tire's doing. You can feel what it's doing. It's just so confidence inspiring on the tarmac. All right, let's take a quick look at these Karoo Streets. Dude, we're using every single piece of rubber on this tire all the way over to the side, completely just mauling this thing like a sport bike tire. These tires feel amazing in the corners. Not just the tread compound itself, but the sidewall here feels like it's giving a lot more than the tires or the sidewall on the Karoo 3. This tire feels planted. Super confidence inspiring compared to that of the Karoo 3 on the street. All right, so we're just now leaving the twisty road section of this test. We're now going to head up to Highway 18 and then get off onto the dirt roads that basically hit the summit of all these little peaks. It's going to give us some time to get some actual dirt road action in, and then we're going to do some hill climbs. Should be fun. Right now, I'm fully leaned over, hammering these Karoo Streets. They're giving me great feedback. I really can't talk enough about how sport bike like. Oh, I'm scraping my boot on the ground right now, and the peg. No, this tire is a phenomenal street tire compared to that one, for sure. Fully leaned over, throttle pinned open. Man, this is a really, really good street tire. No wonder they call it the Karoo Street. So now we're going to cruise up this dirt road for a bit. So what I'm feeling right now is these larger rocks, these tires are kind of bouncing around on the top of. There's not enough groove in between each of the blocks to be able to give a good bite. It's like I'm skating on top of these little rocks. That's the feeling that I'm getting at the moment. All right, so this is the hill climb we're going to do. It doesn't look so menacing from here, but it's a lot of loose rock, almost shaly almost. And then there's quite a few elevation changes, especially halfway up. I mean, there's probably 1.5 foot little section or step up that happens there. Here we go. So I'm currently on the Karoo Street. Oh, come on, buddy. Whoa. See right there where it kicked me to the right and then to the left again? Oh, that wasn't so bad. I think with this tire, the key is not, so having lots of forward momentum is good, but not overspinning the tire on this particular one. Now, some of the other tires you tested on this downhill, the front tire has really needed to be knobby in order to perform well. I've fallen over quite a bit on this hill, so I'm hoping that this front tire is a little bit nicer to me. That was that elevation I was talking about. I feel pretty good, not bad. They actually felt better on that hill than they did on the gravel road we just came up. Go figure. Try this other side. Oh, sideways. All right, Travis is going to go ahead and hit it on the Karoo 3s. All right, here comes Travis on the downhill descent on the Karoo 3 tires. He's going pretty quick. Oof. Nice work, dude. All right, here we go. I'm running the Karoo 3 this time up the hill. So this next section of road here is going to be quite a bit more rugged, if you will, than the dirt road that we were just on. This road is not maintained by the Paraglider Society, so it doesn't get the maintenance and care that that road gets. Yeah, this front wheel has a good feel on that front brake. Like using no back brake at all, it just grabs and does a good job. I didn't feel that with that street tire though. All right, we are just arriving back after a day of adventure bike tire testing. I'm riding the Karoo Street on this red Africa Twin, and Travis on the silver Africa Twin is running the Karoo 3 tire. And that, my friends, is a wrap. The Karoo Street and the Karoo 3 have significantly been tested up in the mountains here. About 150 miles we put on these tires today. And I gotta say, if you're looking for a tire that's more dirt oriented, the Karoo 3, bam, neat option. As you've seen, it's come stock on a lot of OEM vehicles right now, like the KTM 790 Adventure now comes with a Karoo 3 as their stock tire. The Karoo Street. This is a very unique new tire. This has a lot of neat properties. Now, it handles like a sport bike tire. I would run this tire on the racetrack against a sport bike and have no problems with the amount of stiction that this tire has. It really performs well on the street. Now, when we get this tire off-road, it's going to have an interesting dynamic. If it was hard packed clay, it really performed well. If it was sandy, it did marginal. I mean, it did okay. The bike performed, it pushed forward, but there wasn't a whole lot of control. The back end wanted to slide, the front end wanted to push. That's the kind of effects that we were getting in the sand. On loose, rocky terrain, it just didn't feel settled. These grooves here just weren't large enough to go over the rocks that were there. They were just kind of bouncing on the top, and I really felt unsecure, if you will, when riding those tires on that type of terrain. Conversely, these really large open areas, you can see the little dimples here in these grooves. That's where those rocks would hit. They get stuck in between these, and then when the tire would roll, you'd get traction. So these were phenomenal in that type of terrain. Now, on the street, the Karoo 3s, they were definitely pushing. I could definitely feel them push through the corners. It was definitely scrubbing each of these corners off as we were coming through corners. If I had traction control on, it was just completely lit throughout the corner if I was laying lots of throttle down. Now, let's take a quick look back here at the rear tire. It's kind of telling the same story. On this Karoo 3, you can see that there's a big chicken strip here. We're really not getting over as far on this tire as we're getting over on the Karoo Street. You can see the Karoo Street is completely scuffed all the way over to the edge. It feels so good leaning into corners. Tons and tons of confidence-inspiring riding with this tire here on the street. Not so much with the Karoo 3. It does okay on the street, but you really got to tone it back a little bit if you want to keep this thing on two wheels. But in the dirt, that Karoo 3, boom, amazing tire. So here we go, the two Africa Twins with two neat tire options from Metzeler. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care and ride safe.